Jayson Jorgensen here for HuskerChat, brought to you by Newcomb Diesel of Kearney. On Wednesday, officials from Wisconsin announced that the school would be pausing all team activities for at least 7 days after a dozen people within the program had tested positive for COVID-19. That includes head coach Paul Chryst. That means this weekend's matchup between the Huskers and Badgers won't be played and will not be rescheduled. The weekly episode of HuskerChat was recorded prior to this announcement, so we've edited portions of the recording. Thanks for watching and enjoy.
Finally, a game day.
Side Adrian to the 5, Adrian Martinez in, touchdown, Nebraska, 5-20, 15-10, knocked out of bounds inside the 10, Luke McCaffrey.
Hit and goes down, and that's a sack for the Huskers.
Jayson Jorgensen with you as we bring you another version of HuskerChat, brought to you by Newcomb Diesel of Kearney. As always, we're joined by Sean Callahan, the publisher of Huskeronline, as we take a look back at Nebraska's loss last weekend at Ohio State. Well, Sean, they have one game in the books. We all kind of knew it was going to be tough for that trip for the Huskers out to Columbus, Ohio. What was kind of your overall take on what you saw?
Well, for about 28 minutes, I mean, you really liked where it was going. And I think you knew Nebraska, as you mentioned, Jayson, was going to have a hard time going blow for blow, but they did for almost an entire half. And then they gave Ohio State an inch, and they made it a mile, with a chance to go up at halftime. It was 17-14 Ohio State. Then they made it 24-14, and then they scored out of the locker room, and that was the game. As Scott Frost said, they went up 31-14, and I think Nebraska kind of, spiraled at that point. But I still think on paper this is a better team. I think Adrian Martinez looked better. I like how they used Luke McCaffrey. I think in the line of scrimmage, they may have lost some key guys, but there was a lot to like from both the offensive and the defensive line. Now the running back play, I would have liked to have seen that be a little bit more productive, as well as wide receivers. We just didn't really get a good feel for those groups. The tight ends looked a lot better for Nebraska. So yeah, there was a lot to kind of build on now.
You were there for the game. You had a great tweet. You said there's less people here than what there will be for an 8-man state football championship game. What was it like? Was it surreal?
Yeah, it was 1,344 people, and that included workers, media, and then the parents that were there. Usually you would think the parents would all kind of be huddled together, but they had marked seats with chair backs, four in each, four basically spaced out in groups of four. So it didn't look, you couldn't even see the people really at all, the way they were so spread apart for social distancing. And they had some fake crowd noise and things piped in. But yeah, it just felt different. I mean, even from our perspective, there wasn't a press box announcer. So you literally sat in silence in the press box. And I mean, you really got to zone in without that. You kind of take for granted having a guy yell out the yardage and the play after every play when you're sitting there covering a game. So yeah, there were a lot of different elements to be in there. We got our temperature taken. It was 2 people at a time going in and out of the elevators. So there were some protocols. Once we got cleared with our temp, they gave us a blue sticker. And that kind of let us know that we were cleared to be in the press box. So yeah, there was just a lot of things that were unique. No traffic. That's probably one of the hardest stadiums to pull into I've ever been to. And literally I pulled in like I was just pulling up to an empty high school stadium to go watch a practice. So it was definitely pretty surreal.
You mentioned the quarterbacks, Adrian Martinez and Luke McCaffrey. Nebraska had them on the field sometimes at the same time. How do you think they kind of use this and kind of go forward and make the most out of these two? Because at times it worked.
Yeah, you saw Martinez, I think, play a little bit over 40 snaps, and McCaffrey was on the field for about over 20. So they found a good blend, almost 65-35 type of split between those two quarterbacks. But the bottom line is, they are 2 of Nebraska's best playmakers, and they want to get those guys on the field and utilize that playmaking ability. And I thought they had a very good plan. I don't know if they want to necessarily keep pounding McCaffrey as he's an I-back, because I don't know how well he can hold up. They got 8 more games in a row here, Jayson, when you count the December 18th championship game week where everybody plays another game still. So it will be interesting how they get more creative with those 2 players. But I think they made it very clear they're both going to be a very big part of this offense.
Today on Husker Chat, brought to you by Newcomb Diesel of Kearney, we're joined by Sean Callahan, the publisher of Huskeronline. Now let's talk about the areas where Nebraska has to be improved. Unfortunately, there were the mental mistakes again. That's been a reoccurring, theme. Scott Frost's tenure as head coach, and also the defense continue to have some issues, especially on second and third and long.
Yeah, offensively, just those little delay game penalties or holding calls. We just saw Nebraska gets completely off schedule, and what they want to do just doesn't work. They're so much better with a fresh 1st and 10. They're not built to be 1st and 15 or 1st and 20. And especially when the receivers weren't getting open against Ohio State's coverage. Ohio State had great coverage down the field, and Nebraska's guys just weren't really getting much separation to make up that kind of yardage. Hopefully that changes going forward. And then defensively, they were credited with 3 sacks on Justin Fields. They tried to blitz at times. The positive, I would say, is they didn't allow a lot of big plays, especially on the ground. They limited the ground game, made them really earn what they got. And even through the air, Jayson, Ohio State took what was there. And Justin Fields, I said this after the game, I've seen a lot of good quarterback play against Nebraska in my 20 years around the teams they've played. And he's right up there with some of the best I've ever seen play against Nebraska. I mean, I would go all the way back to maybe Sam Bradford when he was at Oklahoma, Jason White. I've seen some pretty good Heisman Trophy winning type quarterbacks play over the years. And, he was stepping above a lot of guys I've ever seen play, and maybe the best I've seen ever play a game against Nebraska, especially now that I've seen him 2 years in a row.
Here's the portion of Husker Chat where Sean discusses the rumors surrounding this weekend's game. Of course, at this time, we did not know if the game would be played or not. We decided to keep this portion of the show in the episode, but again, the game will not be played as on Wednesday, Wisconsin announced they are pausing all football activities for at least 7 days. Well, how about this one this week? Of course, already there's been a lot of COVID talk. Who will Wisconsin have available? Will they make it to Lincoln for the game? If it does happen, it does look like this is potentially a break for the Huskers, as Wisconsin will be shorthanded at the quarterback position.
Well, Jayson, for the game to be canceled, and they don't make these up if they don't play, there would have to be, the color coding would have to be red. There's 2 different levels of color. And in order for them to get red, they would need, I believe, 35 total positives or somewhere in that ballpark. I had somebody from Nebraska kind of break it down for me this week. So it's extremely difficult to get to that red number. The position group quarterback right now, we know Jack Cohn, their original starter, is out with a broken foot. We know Graham Mertz, their new starter, is out with COVID for 21 days. Chase Wolf, their third quarterback after those 2, was, evidently a positive COVID test. We don't know where that's at least here as of Tuesday. And then after that, they have probably at least 2 more quarterbacks. So you would think they would have to play the game with 2 other available quarterbacks, potentially 3 on their roster. It's not ideal, but nothing about 2020 college football is going to be ideal. And every team is going to have to face situations like this.
Well, good point. This is a season that we've never seen before, and hopefully we don't ever have to see anything like this again. Sean, as always, thanks a lot for the time.
Thanks, Jayson.
And that was Sean Callahan, the publisher of Huskeronline, joining us once again for Husker Chat. We'll be here every week, and once again is brought to you by Newcomb Diesel of Kearney. I'm Jayson Jorgensen.